Me, Neha Khanna. On the show tonight, we're going to focus on the one story that is making waves in the tech world globally. It is the war of the tech giants and maverick billionaires, and they have taken it to the next level. Elon Musk owned Twitter. The microblogging platform has a formidable challenger to contend with now. Mark Zuckerberg's Meta launched Threads today, and there were over 2 million sign-ups in the first 2 hours of the launch. Zuckerberg hopes to pull in huge numbers of Twitter users in addition to cashing in on the captive audience that already exists on the popular picture-sharing app Instagram. Threads is a text-based conversation app that allows users to compose and share messages in real time. You can post, text, and links and reply to or repost messages from others. However, some of its features set it apart from Twitter. Threads will have a 500-character limit as opposed to the 280-character limit for unverified Twitter users. If you want a blue tick on Twitter, you now need to cough up $8 a month. And that comes with a 25,000-character limit. As for Threads, if you already have a verified Instagram account, it would automatically translate into a blue badge on Threads. In fact, Threads requires users to have an Instagram account. You will then have the option to import bio information and followers from your Instagram account to your Threads account. Of course, this means that Threads will have access to Instagram's large user base. Let's now look at some of the other features. Users will be able to post 5-minute long videos on Threads as opposed to Twitter's limit of 2-minute, 20 seconds long videos for unverified handles. Twitter's homepage allows users to view what's trending, but if you want to explore what's available on Threads, you will need to scroll through your home feed. Threads will have the same content rules as Instagram. You will have the same controls for muting and blocking accounts that are harassing you. Also, Threads is ad-free, at least for now. Mark Zuckerberg posted his first tweet in 11 years today, ironically, to announce the launch of Threads, Twitter's new rival. And in his first response to Zuckerberg's new offering, Elon Musk replied to someone's tweet with a laughing face emoticon, suggesting that Threads is nothing but a replica of Twitter. In another tweet, Elon Musk took a jibe at Meta's Instagram, saying, "It is infinitely preferable to be attacked by strangers on Twitter than indulge in the false happiness of hide the pain Instagram." Well, they say imitation is the best form of flattery, but is it in the case of Threads? Or does Elon Musk have plenty to worry about? Especially given the endless struggles of the company ever since he took over the reins of Twitter and a rash of missteps on his part. Not to mention users' growing frustration with the multiple technical challenges and constantly changing Twitter policies, such as having to pay a monthly fee for a blue badge, limited access to tweets, and the rest of it. Can Threads be a Twitter killer? Or is there enough space for a multitude of social media platforms in this digital age where our addiction to social media and our online avatars and activities seem to practically dominate our lives?
All right, hey everyone, big news today. We are launching Threads, an open and friendly public space for conversations. It takes the best parts of the Instagram experience and creates a whole new app around text, ideas, and sharing what's on your mind. You just sign up with your Instagram account, you have your followers already there, and you can just get into it and get started. And it is available on the App Store now. The people who've tried it out so far, the reactions have been really great. And I am looking forward to the fun journey ahead to turn this into the kind of big and friendly community that I think we all want to see in the world. All right, looking forward to seeing you all over there on Threads.
All right, let's now introduce our panel and discuss with our experts what the launch of Threads means for Twitter and for you and me, the users. I'm joined by Kanish Gaur, technology and policy expert and founder at the India Future Foundation. We'll also be joined in a moment by Utsav Mittal, director of Geark Solutions Private Limited, and Dilip Cherian, communications and PR guru. All right, Kanish Gaur, let me start with you. What did you make of the launch of Threads today? It is said to be Twitter's most formidable challenger till date. No surprises there that a bit of a war of words between the two maverick billionaires, as I said, is already on. Elon Musk taking jibes at Mark Zuckerberg and Instagram. I'm also very curious. Have you signed up on Threads yet? Do you want to?
Yeah, so absolutely. So I've downloaded Threads, and it's a different experience. So if you've been using Instagram and you are fond of doing instant messaging, getting news, this platform is the answer. Twitter has been more used by people who are political, who are starwards. Instagram has been an application which has been more related to youth. So this application is much more friendly. The user interface is far better. The color schema and everything. That's really phenomenal. So it reminds you and gives you that feeling of that you're using a Instagram like app, and the experience is fantastic. I would say that there is greater space for apps like Threads to come in. That's why Meta has invested and created this platform. And there are far number of young users who are fond of instant messaging, looking at news, which is related to them. So I will not call it a direct compete with Twitter, but a better version, which is focused on a specific age group, which wants certain kind of news, which might not be political, which might not be really that friendly. So it's more of cool young users who want to learn about new things happening in their stream of work. That's where I would rate sites to be. I saw that meme which was posted by Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk also put together that the Spider-Man replica, right? That's way of them for bringing humor, but I think a lot will come forward from it. It's a fantastic app if you try using it. Yeah, it's really good.
All right. I must admit that I haven't signed up on Threads yet, but I'm certainly curious about how it works, how it is different from Twitter, and how the similarities stack up. All right. Dilip Cherian also joining us on the show at this point. Dilip Cherian, welcome back. Have you signed up on Threads yet? Kanish Gaur says that it is a cross between Twitter and Instagram. Come to think of it, that really is the whole game plan for Mark Zuckerberg, isn't it? Because he is hoping to cash in on the already very large existing user base that he has on Instagram. But, I want to quickly read out for you and our viewers a very, shall I say, amusing tweet that was put out by Elon Musk in his response to the launch of Threads. Not only has Elon Musk insinuated that, Threads is nothing but a ripoff, he says, Dilip Cherian, it is infinitely preferable to be attacked by strangers on Twitter than indulge in the false happiness of hide the pain Instagram. So I would love to know, I am pretty sure I don't want to be attacked by strangers on Twitter, but have you been hiding your pain on Instagram, Dilip Cherian, as Elon Musk suggests?
To begin with, Neha, I must confess that ever since you threatened to have me on this program, I quickly went and signed on to Threads to make sure that at least I understood what the user interface was and what the experience was like. That's one. I've just started, so I can't claim to have too much by way of experience of what the audience and what the storylines are. But what is interesting is that because of the fact that you have a huge installed base of Instagram users, i.e. also Facebook users, Zuckerberg will be able to address a very large audience very fast if he can excite them with something. At the moment, let's be very honest, there isn't very much exciting there. It is, as Elon has said, a bit of a ripoff, but a ripoff with a twist. So it's literally like having a ripoff with a different angularity to it. And I think that will work. But am I hiding my angst on Insta? No. Am I trolled on Twitter? Yes. And do I care about being trolled? The answer is no, because at the end of the day, when you put yourself out in public, you know that you've got to take what you've got to take. If you want to be just in the company of friends, and if Threads is going to be a little closed garden of pretty people preening themselves, then it will never have the kind of traction that Twitter has. Remember that Twitter today is sitting at 350 odd people or whatever, and even Zuckerberg's own estimation is that 10 million have downloaded it. So there's a long, long way to go, and it's only 8 hours. But I think that unless you have a little frisson of excitement on any social media platform, and we know what the excitement on Facebook was designed to be, it simply will not be more than just another piece of very clever technology platform.
Okay, that is interesting. And you know, I have to say this thought crossed my mind as well, Kanish Gaur. So I want to come back to you on this point. Both you and Dilip Cherian have downloaded Threads. I must confess, I haven't, though I'm waiting to check it out for sure. But, you know, Kanishk, when you said that this is a nice, welcome amalgamation, in a sense, of, you know, the interface that Twitter and Instagram provide. Also, Mark Zuckerberg is hoping that perhaps a lot of the toxicity that exists on Twitter because of the, you know, sharply polarizing debates that nowadays happen on virtually every issue, that perhaps this new platform will be free from that kind of toxicity. Firstly, we're not sure if that is indeed going to be the case. And number two, as Dilip Cherian points out, I mean, if Threads ends up being a mere extension of Instagram, where it is largely left catering to our vanity, then I'm really not sure it can be a real rival to Twitter. Because let's not forget, apart from the debates and the discourse that happen on Twitter, what, you know, perhaps is its biggest USP is its news orientation. So do you not believe, Kanish, that those who are looking for serious news will probably want to stick to Twitter if they feel that there is more of Instagram on Threads than news, for example, or views?
See, Instagram is with influencers and creators, where Twitter has been with newsmakers. You don't find people who are creators on Twitter. So this platform today will have creators, it will have influencers. The success of this platform will purely depend on the kind of content which is generated, who are the influencers, who are the creators. We remind ourselves, most of the platforms, be it YouTube, be it Instagram, they or Snapchat, they are popular because of the people who are there and creating new kind of content. So if this platform has to succeed, it has to do something new. You will have to look at what are the trends, what's floating. It could be music, it could be art. The key differentiator would be there will be less of bots. That's what I'm assuming, because I find a lot of bots and bots trolling you, and that's one of the key issues which we have seen with Twitter. You will find more humans because you can get a lot of your contacts from Instagram being loaded onto threads, and you can start having conversations and invite those people. So how many people from Instagram migrate to threads is going to be a key thing, and how they engage. It might happen that if 10 million people have downloaded out of curiosity and there is nothing new happening on thread, the platform might not be able to add more users, right? So that's one of the things, and we saw something like that happen with Koo as well, right? So initially Koo came in and we had this whole buzz about Koo being the alternate to Twitter, and Koo was not able to add a lot of new people because the kind of content that was put on Koo was not liberated. It was controlled. It was leaning towards certain influences who had a major way of thinking. Right? I'll not get into whether it was right or left, but it was polarized. So if you want to bring a platform, you will have to create these platforms which are much more neutral, and there is less of trolling and less of bots, and there is more content which is created by users who are actual creators. That's going to be one of the key things. new trends, new ways of doing things, art, culture, music. That's something that I really look forward to.
You know, I agree with you, Kanishk, but the problem, Dilip Cherian, is this. Yes, I would love to be on a platform that is devoid of toxicity, the kind of, sharply polarized discourse that we've seen in recent years, including, it getting very ugly on multiple occasions, with a lot of people being viciously targeted, including with rape and death threats. We know that women have been at the receiving end a lot. Many would say minorities have been at the receiving end in multiple ways. So yes, we'd all love to have a platform which is free from toxicity and trolling, but how do we know that Threads is going to be that platform?
Neha, I'll say something very fundamental here. We don't know whether it is social media which has caused the toxicity in discourse worldwide, or whether the world has become more toxic and discourse has become more annoyingly polarized. I don't know. But whatever direction it has come from, the fact is that today we are living in a polarized world with rather divisive conversations rather than inclusive conversations. That is the description of the world we live in. Now, in that world, if you now try and create a walled garden, which is only pretty frocks and even dainty cakes, it is simply not enough to engage the kind of people that you want to engage. Sure, you will be able to go for chefs and designers, artists, musicians, what is referred to as creators, and that creator economy is huge. But the excitement comes when an actor, for example, is attacked, or an actor takes a position on a social issue. So if that is not going to happen on Threads, then it's going to be, as I repeat again, a bit of a walled garden which gets boring after a short while.
I agree with you. If I want to just see pretty pictures of, designer clothes or cakes or, wedding celebrations or cute baby pictures, I can always go to Instagram. I think you're right. What we're looking for, apart from news and views, is some kind of intellectual stimulation when we go to a platform like Twitter. But at the same time, I want to ask you this question, whether Threads can really sort of rise to that level and effectively engage with the kind of target audience that Twitter has had all these years remains to be seen. But Dilip Cherian, it's not like Twitter has had no competitors in the past. Kanish Gaur talked about Coup. It was launched in India with much fanfare. Almost the entire Indian government, all top union ministers seem to be on it, but I don't think it ever quite took off the way the founders would have hoped it would. And then, on an international level, you've had Blue Sky, Mastodon. Let's not forget Donald Trump's very own Truth Social. But what is it about Mark Zuckerberg's Threads that you think could outdo and outshine all of these other platforms that have been launched in recent years, that were meant to be rivals to Twitter, but didn't even come anywhere close? Of course, there are many who are saying that apart from the fact that Meta is a tech giant, on the same scale as Twitter, what Mark Zuckerberg is also doing very cleverly is to capitalize on the mess that Twitter now finds itself in ever since Elon Musk took over. The constantly changing policies. Yeah. People are growing tired of it. There is this growing frustration and fatigue amongst Twitter users these days. One day you are told you have to pay $8 a month to get that blue badge. Another day you're told if you don't have a verified account, you can only view a certain number of tweets. Do you believe these factors could in fact work to Mark Zuckerberg and Threads' advantage? Dilip Cherian, first you.
Without a doubt, Neha, Zuckerberg is a much more patient, clever and scheming social media tech giant. Elon Musk is perhaps far cleverer, far richer and far more flamboyant. but will flamboyance and the willingness to experiment ruin Twitter? My suspicion is that it already has. But given that Elon knows that his cleverness has to work in favor of the $44 billion he spent buying Twitter, let's hope that he keeps the platform alive, because it is important both for free speech as well as for not so free speech that a platform like Twitter exists. Is the threat from Zuckerberg real? It is, because that man has the volumes, the masses of people already tied to his technology strings, and those wires are mighty tough and able to pull what needs to be pulled in quite easily.
Is that something you would agree with, Kanishk? That apart from the fact that Meta is a tech giant unlike any other, the kind of challenges that Twitter has been facing ever since Elon Musk took over the reins of the company, and the fact that there is this growing frustration amongst Twitter users over the constantly changing policies, as we said, do you believe that the timing of the launch of Threads perhaps could not have been better, and Mark Zuckerberg, the clever tech maverick that he is, decided that he should strike while the iron is hot? Do you believe this gambit is likely to pay off?
I completely agree with Dilip. The timing is just right because Twitter lost millions of advertisers. Those advertisers refused to work back with Twitter with a new set of policies and changes, and they were looking for alternates. The timing of Mark Zuckerberg is just right because these advertisers would help him monetize threats. That's something which is the key. It is not just about people, it's about the content. And content comes from advertisers. That's one of the elements which threats could really multiply, right? The other thing is there have been layoffs multiple times, both at Twitter and at Meta. What is an advantage to Mark Zuckerberg is that the cross pollination of platforms. So if you are at Instagram, you can move to Threads and you can move your data. You can decide if you want to keep your account private on Threads, chat with your friends, or you want to make it public. You can import all data. So you already have the data sets and a lot of metadata which you can move to a platform like Threads and use it. The other part is how to use this metadata. So for advertisers, metadata means a lot. While Twitter might be collecting certain amount of metadata, the metadata which is collected by Meta as a platform is far more through WhatsApp, through Messenger, through Facebook, and now Threads and Instagram. Tremendous amount of metadata that could be used enormously well. And this is Mark Zuckerberg's response to the investors, saying that he's just doing it the best way. The best way to answer investors or critics is to do something really wonderful. And what better timing than choosing it to take this battle against Twitter? That's why this challenge he is put up.
Okay, so Dilip Cherian, let me ask you this. Has Mark Zuckerberg hurt Elon Musk or hit Elon Musk where it hurts? Elon Musk, being Elon Musk, has reacted in his own inimitable style by taking jibes at Instagram and Meta, and by posting laughing face emoticons suggesting that Threads is nothing but a replica of Twitter. But if you were Elon Musk, would you seriously worry with the about the launch of Threads?
Thank God I'm not Elon Musk, but I certainly, as a Twitter user, I have reason to be concerned that Mark Zuckerberg might be eating the entire social media universe, and that, as Gaurav just said, that if you look at Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and now Threads, this is a gigantic metaverse that Zuckerberg is ruling over. And this is not a joke. It is a huge consolidation and one that the world needs to worry about. So certainly Elon Musk should be very worried, and Elon Musk will have to be very nimble, and Elon Musk must recognize that this is the moment when he needs to give rather than try and take more from his users and more from his advertisers.
All right. What do you make of the criticism, Dilip, that at the end of the day, Threads is nothing but really a rip-off of Twitter? Does it even matter? Because at the end of the day, what we really need is a product that sells. Also, I want to ask you this question. Some might argue that, good Lord, why do we need another social media platform? Isn't there a plethora of these platforms already? Do you believe that it's going to be a zero-sum game where one social media platform gains necessarily at the expense of another? Or do you believe that there is actually enough space for newer social media platforms, given that we live in a digital era where we're all addicted to social media and our online avatars and activities seem to practically dominate our lives, not to mention our self-obsession and vanity that these platforms tap into very cleverly?
That's a terrific question, Neha. The answers are the following. Do we need more social media platforms? It's like asking whether a large city needs more restaurants or not. The hunger is unending. As to whether they will all tap into the same audiences, the answer is very clear. I think with the coming of Threads, you will have new people on a short blog form like Twitter entering that world, which they were not doing just on Insta or on Facebook. So it will expand with the universe. Is this something that the world needs? I think the answer is that yes, we could do with some more, and I think we could do with more democratization of these platforms rather than greater concentration of power in just two hands. But as I said, if Elon Musk were to be a thinking man, and I believe he is a thinking man, he would be very worried today, because this move by Zuckerberg is a substantial move, and I don't think that it's going to go away just yet. A lot of the other imitators, and I take your first question, I don't think that there's anything wrong with imitating in this game. In fact, the world belongs very often to the second mover or the third mover and not the first mover. So I think that Zuckerberg hasn't lost anything by being imitative. It's a good thing if he does it better.
It's a good thing if he does it better. And some argue there is no such thing as originality in this world anymore. Everything is inspired. Last word to you, Kanish Gaur. Would it be a toss-up for you between Twitter and Threads? Or as Dilip Cherian says, there is enough room for more and more social media platforms for us, because we are so hungry, for more as far as the online world is concerned.
I'm sorry, I apologize. I called you God.
Sorry, Dilip Cherian, were you saying something? Okay, I think we've lost the line there. To Dilip, Kanish Gaur, that question is for you.
The hunger is much more. If you tried using ChatGPT for free, it was only allowing you to use text messaging, and it created hunger for you to then use ChatGPT 4, which allows you to video, audio, upload it, download it. So Twitter, in that sense, has created that hunger for you to experience thread, because threads would also allow you to have video, audio. So the short messaging space for platforms is changing. That's why I think it's only going to grow further. And we're looking at new ways people can communicate. So this space is only going to evolve. There is so much more you can do with some of these newer platforms that one can imagine large number of users will sign up to it, because people at times really get hurt the kind of trolling which happens on platforms like Twitter, and with that multiple account blue tick, losing blue tick and suddenly getting that again. You are looking for alternates for short messaging. So this platform is just right. And mind you, apart from threads, there could be other platforms like this which might crop up, which could be just replica of threads and which might be very popular in the developing world. We see something like this coming up from countries like Brazil or China. We'll also see something like this coming up from Southeast Asia as well, because short messaging format is really popular and people want to navigate through some of these messaging platforms. So I think the business will go further and there'll be more competition in this space.
Absolutely. While some may say that we've already seen a glut of such social media platforms, others might argue you ain't seen nothing yet. Kanish Gaur and the Lipcharian, thank you very much for joining us and discussing with us your views on this issue. It clearly has been the story of the day, at least in the tech world. All right, let's now shift our attention to the biggest story to have emanated from the United States of America this week. And this is a story that should worry every American. It's an issue that has plagued the United States of America for years now. But is America's gun epidemic now simply out of control? As the country celebrated its Independence Day on the 4th of July, the celebrations were marred by a rash of mass shootings. In the space of just a couple of days, there were 16 mass shootings across 13 American states that left 15 people dead and 94 others injured. President Joe Biden once again called for tighter gun controls following the deadly shootings. Biden said, over the last few days, our nation has once again endured a wave of tragic and senseless shootings in communities across America. As our nation celebrates Independence Day, we pray for the day when our communities will be free from gun violence. While Illinois is one of the few states to have successfully banned assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, President Biden said much more must be done across America to address the epidemic of gun violence that is tearing our communities apart. Of course, what happened during the Independence Day celebrations is just the tip of the iceberg. The statistics on gun violence in the US are simply staggering. As of mid-June, the US has seen the most mass killings and deaths up to that point in a single year. Now listen to this. More than 13,900 people have been killed in mass shootings so far in 2023. At least 13 of these were in schools, and we're just halfway through the year. In 2022, there were over 44,000 deaths resulting from gun violence in that country. In 2021, almost 49,000 people died from gun-related injuries in the United States. These include both gun murders and gun suicides. The gun deaths in the US climbed sharply during the COVID pandemic, increasing a whopping 45% between 2019 and 2021. Now compare this to the number of lives that have been lost on account of terrorism in other parts of the world. Pakistan lost over 850 of its people in various terror attacks in the first quarter of 2023. Last year in the same period, Pakistan witnessed 293 such deaths. Afghanistan in 2022 saw 633 casualties in terror attacks, and war-torn Syria in 2022 saw 447 fatalities in various attacks. What does this data tell us? Simply put, many more people are dying due to gun violence in the United States every year than those being killed in terror attacks or even in war zones. Why, you wonder? The answer is quite simple and mind-boggling at the same time. In the United States of America, guns, including assault weapons, are as easy to buy off the shelf as candies. No background checks required, no questions asked. You could be a terrorist or someone with a serious mental health crisis. No problem. You can simply walk into your neighborhood store in the US and buy a gun. For years now, scores of Americans and Democrats in particular have been crying themselves hoarse, demanding tighter gun control measures. President Biden has been a staunch advocate for stricter gun laws. But in the name of the Second Amendment, that confers on the US citizens the right to bear arms, the Republicans have been blocking in the US Congress repeated attempts and legislations to introduce such restrictions. even as the all-powerful gun lobby in the US continues to hold sway, it is ordinary Americans who are paying an unimaginably heavy price, losing their loved ones, including little children, in schools to senseless gun violence. The question simply is, will American politicians ever wake up to the horrors of gun violence and actually do something about it? Or will innocent Americans continue to lose their lives at the altar of the Second Amendment?
All too well, educators now find themselves in the front lines of gun violence. Some of your members talked about it, Jill talked about it. With your help, we passed the most significant bipartisan gun safety legislation in 30 years, but it's not nearly enough. Congress needs to step up, pass common sense gun safety laws to protect our kids and educators. And by the way, arming teachers is not the answer. Arming teachers is not the answer. Banning assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, extensive background checks, they're part of the answer.
In a horrific incident on Monday night, we all know, a shooter murdered 5 people and likely would have harmed even more had the police not bravely and swiftly apprehended the subject. As a city, we all have endured these tragedies together while investing hundreds of millions of dollars to address the problem. I want the public to know there is no greater priority for our administration than to reduce violence and create safer communities and a more just city for everyone. And we know that investing in prevention and law enforcement has to be part of that solution. But make no mistake, the root of the problem is the proliferation of guns in our city and in our country. Guns are the common denominator in every single shooting.
I know many of our residents are very concerned about news reports that we've heard, especially today, about violence in the district. We are also troubled by violent incidents that we've seen around the country, where violence and guns marred a holiday weekend. So we want to make sure that we are sending the clear message that our public safety apparatus and our team are working around the clock to keep district residents safe. And we want to make sure that we are using all of our tools to investigate these violent incidents and to hold the people responsible accountable.
I don't understand how someone can just do that to my brother. Like, I really love him. And the fact that you did this to us, like, for your own agenda, for your own reason, it's just really pissing me off. It's really pissing me off, and I'm going to miss him a lot. He taught me a lot about myself. He was like a second father to me. I never wanted to tell anyone that, but he was like a second father to me. He was gorgeous inside and out. I'm going to miss that beautiful smile. I really am. He had the best hugs.
And he took care of his family.
He had the worst cooking. He tried his best, okay, but he put his passion into it. And I just feel like with his cooking, we still ate it because he tried, and it's just like he couldn't cook, but he could sketch his butt off. He can like draw you right now all in this room with just a pen or a pencil and a piece of paper and just draw every detail of your face.
I don't know if you saw it, but right at the corner where this all went down yesterday, 24 hours ago, actually 28 hours ago, there was a small bicycle, looked like a child's bicycle, which was sitting on that corner. And we were informed by some people who were there that that bicycle was dropped by someone, I presume a child, during the shooting. Hours later, nobody had touched it. Nice little bike. Hours later, nobody had touched it, as if they all felt they couldn't, that it was a memorial. It was some kind of a silent memorial.
Okay, let's understand, why are Americans so trigger happy, and why is the gun epidemic in the United States of America simply out of control? Let's go across to our guests. I'm joined by former diplomat Ambassador Manju Seth, Major General Sudhakar G, a defense expert, and Yashovardhan Azad, former Special Director, IB. Thanks very much to all of you for joining us. Ambassador Manju Seth, let me start with you. As I said, the figures are mind-boggling. You know, when you make a comparison between lives lost to gun violence in the US and lives lost to terrorism or in war zones in other parts of the world, the answer is quite astounding. If hundreds of people have died in terrorism in Pakistan and Afghanistan, and another few hundred in war-torn Syria, thousands and thousands have died in gun violence in the United States of America. We are just halfway through 2023. Close to 14,000 lives have already been lost to gun violence in the US. The figure in 2022 stood at over 44,000, in 2021 at 49,000. And like I said, the biggest problem seems to be that you can just walk into a store in any part of the United States of America. You could have a criminal record, you could be a terrorist, or you could be somebody with a serious mental health crisis, but there are no background checks done, no questions asked. Buying a gun, including an assault weapon, is as easy as buying a candy. And on top of that, you have the Republicans who, in the name of the Second Amendment, continue to defend, the right of Americans to bear arms, and who continue to block all attempts and legislatures in the US Congress to introduce gun control measures. If you could just explain to us, the politics behind it. Why are things the way they are in the United States as far as gun violence is concerned?
I think this has been it's a very unfortunate thing that is happening in the US, and your figures are quite astounding. I was not aware of these huge numbers, but the politics behind it is very obvious. You yourself mentioned that the Republicans have been blocking it, and I think it's been on their agenda that, it's a free country and everybody should be allowed under the Constitution it's permitted, and even the Supreme Court has given a ruling saying that it is a fundamental right of every citizen of the US to own a gun. And that is something which is, irrespective of the fact that so many people are dying, they don't wish to do anything about it. And I think there's also an element in their minds, I think, because of the gun lobbying and the other aspects of guns, and I think an element of discrimination, I should say, a feeling of discrimination amongst a certain section of the people. And so they think that we should be permitted to have these guns and use them as and when we want. And if you look at what has been happening in the US, every year, people who are, majority of them are sort of not even mentally stable, and they have access to these guns, and in schools, young children get, all upset. So everything, if you see, it is about, getting out of hand. The Republicans are not allowing it for various reasons. They have their, they say it's our, we have certain concerns, and we have our, constituency, so to speak, whom they say that it is required for their self-defense guns. And the Democrats, on the other hand, are looking at it as a humanitarian crisis, a humanitarian issue, and saying that this needs to be done. That guns need to be regulated, at least, if not outright banned. At least assault vehicles, not vehicles, assault ammunition and assault guns should be prevented completely from being openly available to all and sundry, and resulting in this kind of indiscriminate killings and anybody and everybody having access to them. I think it has led to a very sad situation in the in the US. In the UK, for instance, you can't have these. You can't buy guns as easily, and that's why we see that UK doesn't witness this kind of mass shootings and mass killings because there is some control. Whereas here in the US, we can see how it is, and it is very difficult to to understand why they are not. Yes, in self-defense, yes, you need to. If they feel that it's part of their constitution, their fundamental right, they can hold on to some. Guns, but not like this. There has to be background check. There has to be some controls. Otherwise, the situation will only get bad to worse. And I think both sides of the political, political divide or political lines
But unfortunately, the Republicans just don't seem to care. Thousands of American lives are being lost to gun violence every single year, and yet they will keep reminding you of the Second Amendment. They will keep reminding you of how Americans have the constitutional right to bear arms in self-defense. You know, I mean, spare a thought for those people who've lost loved ones in this senseless violence. And, you know, those little children who've been brutally shot dead in their schools. Let me go across to Yashovardhan Azad at this point. Yashovardhan Azad, America is the most powerful country in the world. It has launched multiple wars on terror and invaded country after country. Yet they can't seem to protect their own citizens from gun violence. Hundreds of people dying in terror attacks, but thousands and thousands dying because of gun violence in the United States. The President of the United States of America, correct me if I'm wrong, is the most powerful man on this planet, but he is helpless when it comes to introducing, gun control measures. President Biden has been introducing new legislations, he's been signing executive orders. Everything gets stalled in the US Congress.
I think, Neha, behind this is the history of gun culture in United States. Right from the beginning, I mean, from the days of the militias who were owning guns, it was a part of US history, culture. And later, when the militias were no longer required and became an army, the militias, the people themselves, were still holding guns. Now, today, the funniest part in the United States of America is that when you have these shootings in schools, instead of saying that you should put a ban on these use of firearms and not issue any licenses, there is an opinion to say that you should arm the teachers. And you can imagine what happens if you arm the teachers. There'll be virtually gun battle in schools when you have any madman coming with a gun. In fact, the president just now in his speech referred to it. My second point is, the Pew Research, which is very respectable, has thrown up some very interesting findings. People in America say that we need to have guns for personal protection. And in the rural areas, the demand is more. The people from urban areas say that there should be a stricter control because they are facing this havoc day in and day out. Now, if 40% of adults own guns, there is just no way you can control it. My third point is that the police itself is become militarized and adopts the gun culture, and that is why you see that in America, the handling of even peaceful demonstrations is very, very different. I mean, it's very hard. You see the kind of violence which is perpetrated by the police against the blacks because they have not been oriented to a non-violent approach. And therefore, the gun culture today is pervading almost entire sections. Some of the statistics are frightening. I mean, the people in the country own 100 times more in number arms than the army, and 400 times more than the security people who are guarding the law and order situations. Therefore, I think US has a very difficult job at hand. Yes, the Second Amendment is there. The Republicans will keep enforcing the law. They are not interested in doing it. But the worst part is, I think that given this kind of arms holding, you will not be able to prevent incidents like the mass shootings. Because any day, any person, a cranky guy or any guy mentally ill will do this shooting. You cannot expect the law enforcement to stop these kind of incidents because they are happening on the spur of the moment. And even if a planning is done so secretly, it's just out of depths for the law enforcement to do it. So therefore, even if you improve the law enforcement, even if you employ other methods, nothing can control this except banning the use of arms. And I tell you, not only the assault rifles, but even small arms. And these are, very minimum things like, trying to have a verification, because this is very well required. In America, for example, verification is very easy. Everyone carries a card and your social security number gives you away for everything. So the issue is very, very deep, and it needs an all-pervasive approach.
It certainly does, and the figures that you've shared with us, I must say, are indeed terrifying. If the ordinary citizens in the US own more weapons than the security apparatus, then, well, that sounds like a perfect recipe for disaster and chaos. Let me go across to Major General Sudhakarji. Sir, what do you think explains this? I mean, it is absolutely mind-boggling for us, watching this happen in the United States from the outside. Is it really the influence of the all-powerful gun lobby? Is it really about the Second Amendment, the right to self-defense and protection? Is it because the Republicans believe that this is a major political, a very sensitive political issue, for their core base, supporter base? And also one wonders, what makes Americans so trigger happy?
Neha, good evening. Thank you for inviting me to your show. Firstly, compliments to News 9 channel for having picked up a topic which is relevant to the existence of US as a superpower. And when I was browsing the channel of US, there are not many channels who are having serious debates and discussions the way you are conducting in this channel. Compliments to you for that. So coming straight to the question, what is the problem? Is there a problem, firstly? To find a solution to a criticality or to a problem, we need to accept that there is a problem. I don't think US as a nation state or as a superpower has seen this particular criticality as, or identified this as, a bipartisan problem. Today they are divided, and a couple of months back, maybe a year and a half back, we were all talking about the US as a declining power. Look at the haphazard manner they withdrew in a hasty manner from Afghanistan, and often the terminology and the phraseology being prefixed to USA as a declining superpower. Why is it so? Because the house is burning. The internal instability is rising. It is not only the gun culture. There are many other issues. To save on time, I'm just briefly touching upon 803,000 soldiers in a time frame of 2001 to 2021. They served in Afghanistan, and almost about 2,448 passed away. They died in the operations. Almost 20,800, they were actually victimized. They suffered injuries. Why am I bringing out this point is that today in US, almost about 100,000 soldiers, they attempt suicide. 1,000 soldiers, they successfully, sorry for using this expression, they successfully commit suicide. And out of this population, 18% of them are unemployed. They're unemployed. And large number of them who are employed, they do not get the wherewithal and the means for the livelihood and survival of the family. So it brings me to a point. Similarly, you have many other issues, but the core issue that from my side, I identify is that the central problem lies in the belief system. Like the previous co-panelists, very eminent speakers and the ambassador, they have brought out things in a very specific and comprehensive manner. However, we need to go back in time and identify how did the US come into existence? The revolution and the way of life, the belief system. There was a point in time where the guns used to be required for the self-defense and the protection of the people. But is that time still relevant today? Do all the people in US society require guns? Here is a question. You have given out the statistics there very rightly. In a very short time, when I was carrying out a research, 5 questions have been dabbled or have been gone into by many research scholars. The first question, most of these incidents have taken place in the schools and the academic centers of excellence. The first question which they have asked or in the sample is they want to get back at those who have hurt their feelings. 87% have answered yes. Second point which has stood out in the investigation or in the analysis is that other kids, they have a pick at them, they make fun and bully them. 86% of the respondents have replied yes. Third one is they don't value the life. The fourth one is they have been victims of physical abuse at home. That is about 61%. And the next one is they have mental problem. And the fifth one, there are almost about 25 such kind of factors. The fifth one, which has got highlighted by the agency, is that they have easy access to the guns. So out of all this, there are three issues which are getting highlighted. One is the belief system, which they have been practicing for ages. Number two, that's a way of life. Gun culture is a gun culture. Second thing is the social value system. I think it's about time that the superpower looks at India. I think they have taken India on the lap and tried to, develop a close relationship, because the value system of India is going to give them peace, harmony, and some kind of a semblance of orderliness in their family life. Last but not the least is the deep state which is existing in America, the gun lobby. The gun lobby is actually making the politics in US totally divided. Time has come wherein bipartisan decisions have to be taken. They have to sit back, think through, come out with some workable and implementable solutions. Otherwise, America as a nation state is heading for disaster. Back to you.
Okay, interesting. Well, Americans seem to have adopted the ancient Indian practice of yoga for sure, but they're yet to practice the Gandhian principle of non-violence. But, we have to conclude this discussion with this one thought, with this one question. Will the American politicians wake up to the horrors of gun violence, or will Americans continue to lose their lives in senseless shootings? On that note, I'd like to thank our guests for joining us on the show. With that, it's a wrap. Thanks very much to the viewers for watching. Do join us again on a new edition of Global Lens again tomorrow.
इंजीनियरिंग कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि सभी लोग कर रहे हैं.
Coaching is now starting from grade 3, 4, 5, 6.
होता जाने वाली बीच राह में आधे टेस्ट देके हैं सिलेक्शन की चाह में.
ऑल इंडिया का बच्चा कोटा जाता है.
This rat race is for rats, not for humans. So why should we even be a part of